Say yes every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, I'm so excited to have the incredible Jacob Faske. Jacob, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. And on Wednesday Wisdom, we always kick it off with here's our question. In our lives, we learn so much. Our parents teach us as children. We get into this business world and we're getting advice and learning lessons, sometimes tough lessons. And throughout that, there are certain things that kind of sit with us, things that we take and apply to our lives. So, Jacob, to kick us off today, I'd love to hear what is a piece of advice that you have learned that has sat with you and been applied?
Sure. No, I'm excited. Thank you for letting me do this. It's actually a quote, I guess you want to call it advice, but it really just challenged me by Maya Angelou. It's courage is the most important of the virtues because without it, no other virtue can be practiced consistently. And that just kind of hit me to the core when I heard that. I was like, okay, that makes sense because I don't care how good I seem or how, if I'm not living life boldly and courageously and taking risks, calculated, I mean, and really just being honest, it's just nothing else matters. So it takes courage to be honest with yourself, with others. This was especially important to me recently. I walked out of a season of just realizing how codependent my thinking had been for a long time. Um, really just felt like I was looking back like, man, I really reverted to being like, to cowardice and not speaking up when those things were important to me or, just wanting to keep the peace instead of really adding value by, saying, this is who I am. This is what I think. This is, this is important. And I think, for a long time, I really didn't truly value myself. I kind of abandoned myself and didn't give myself the value I really deserved just as being a human being. But also in the mortgage industry, I was a former teacher. That was part of it too. Um, so once I broke free of that mindset, I really had the courage to kind of speak my mind and stand firm in what I believe. And it's a, what do you call that? It's a necessary discomfort. So
So, Jacob, number one, wow, deep, very,
yeah,
very deep. The word alone of courage. As I said that, I literally thought of the Cowardly Lion from
yeah,
from the Wizard of Oz. But when I think of what that word means, right, and having the courage to be true to yourself, the courage to speak your mind, the courage to follow a path that maybe might not make sense to
hmm,
other people, right? Courage to make decisions that sometimes are uncomfortable, to your
yeah,
point, right? So you mentioned a season, right? And listen, all of us in this, in this life that we're living, we're going to go through many different seasons throughout
yeah.
our lives. What was that thing that triggered that season to say, wait a minute here, this
Yeah.
isn't, I'm not being truthful to myself, and I
Right.
I do have to, I gotta have a tough conversation with myself, right? What was that trigger that kind of caused you to have that tough conversation with yourself?
That's a great question. I think it was not just one singular moment. It was several realizations over reflections of my relationships. And it was more of testing who my inner circle was and the
Mm,
things that they would say. And I would hear things I don't think I've ever heard before because I was trying to be relational and realized maybe I was being more transactional as a codependent thinker. Again, not
yeah.
intentionally, but when you have friends and colleagues and mentors that stick and add value to your life and are on your team, that you can really trust. And you just say things. And the big aha moment though was, man, these people just want to be around me. Like they want to hang out with me. They want to be in my company, as opposed to me just pandering to people and um, trying to earn instead of just being myself. So it was really it was a positive realization of, oh
Wow.
man, I've been doing this for a long time. Um, So really just having my circle of people affirm me enough to where it just hit me over the head enough to where I realized I've been doing this wrong. And I am valuable. And this is it gave me the self-confidence and just the encouragement to just be me.
So about 2 weeks ago, I'm always looking for speakers for like different things that I'm part of, right? Different groups. And what I do is I kind of like keep an eye out, whether it's books that people are speaking about or things on LinkedIn or social media, right? And so about 3 weeks ago, I listened to a podcast and there was a lady on there that she and her partner, business partner, actually wrote the aptitude test that is given out to high schoolers at the time, like in
Hmm.
junior year, to determine what kind of job should they go into, what kind of career. Okay. So I reach out to this lady and I say to her, I would love to have you come on to my one of my women's events, right? I've actually I'll say which one. It was for Women with Vision for 2020, Vision for
Yeah.
Success. And I said, I'd love for you to come on and speak about your book and what you do. She said, well, Laura, I will do that, but you gotta take the test first. And I was like, oh, brother. I'm like, okay, what kind of test is it? Is it a quick little 15-minute test? She said, no, no, no. It will take you about an hour and a half to take the test. And I'm thinking, right, Jacob, me and you, I'm like, yeah, I'm really not a fan of like, let me figure out mathematical equations and vocabulary. It's like an SAT,
Yeah.
that I'm taking this test. The reason why I'm sharing this, it's brilliant because this woman made me take the test and then I got my results. And then she actually like told me really deep me. Now, a lot of it I knew already, right? A lot of it I knew, but something was in there. And what you just said, I almost wonder if you have some of it.
Okay.
I have something that I don't let things go.
Hmm.
And when you spoke about that circle,
Yeah.
I know for myself, I mean, I've been with my husband, he was my high school sweetheart. Now that's great, that's wonderful. We've been together forever, right?
Yeah.
But I don't let things go. Like when I do a project, when I build a business, when I do like I'm the type, but to your point, that sometimes is not the correct answer because
Hmm.
people come into our lives sometimes for a season. They're not
Hmm.
meant to be with us until the day
Yeah.
we're no longer on this earth. So I think
Yeah.
you kind of took an evaluation and you said, some people, they may be people that'll be with me for the rest of my life. And some people
Yeah.
just taught me a lesson or they came
Yeah.
in to do something and then we wish them great and we still love them and care, but they're not necessarily going to be in that inner circle, right? So, what are your thoughts on some of the things that you've learned around that?
About letting go specifically.
Yeah, letting go.
Yeah, I think it's more of uh, for I joke about this half seriously, but like they said, there's seven deadly sins. The eighth one to me is expectation.
Mm.
And so that one hits me too. And I know a lot of programs will tell you, what is it? Expectation is just premeditated resentment. And so I think
Oh
just,
man, you are very deep, Jacob. I mean, you're
yeah,
dropping bombs. Like
well,
listen to what he's saying because those are deep comments.
I just, I've done some of the work myself. So some of this is stuff I've heard enough to where I'm all about taking stuff head on. And if it's challenging, I'm going to listen to it, even if it hurts. Um, if you can't say amen, say ouch, right? I've heard that one too. Um,
Everybody, take notes. Everyone,
yeah.
take notes.
I think really it's just I have this idea. I think part of it's because of my creative past. I have a lot of, time for imagination and just trying to be creative. Being having a I was a band director, so music was a
Oh,
part of the
cool.
background, and so a lot of imagination involved and just premeditating things, how you want them to sound, how you want them to look, or whatever. So performance is kind of in my past, so that's part of it. But the expectation, I think, you imagine, man, this relationship is fantastic, and I could see where it could go, but it takes two people, right, to either have the same vision or to move with you or to move apart. And sometimes it's like, man, I thought we were connecting so deeply, and they just don't have the same level of commitment or even vision of what the relationship is
Yeah.
like. And so I think that's what I have to step outside of, is the expectation of this is this kind of friend. I have to be okay with that. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's really my challenge, is just discerning constantly. This is not what I thought it was, or maybe this is deeper than I thought, because my best friends are not the people I would have ever imagined that. They're people that I went through life with and did life with. So,
Yes, and that's a lesson for every human that's doing life right now. I mean,
right.
we all have to be aware of that. That's for sure. Wow. So it definitely has seemed like you're on this journey, and it's a journey that's not going to end, right? We're constantly learning these lessons. And it sounds like you're someone that is on this self-awareness, right? Like
Oh,
self-accusation, and you're really, really focused in on always getting to know yourself. I'm very similar. Like I've realized that when I know myself the best, that's when I can be the best for others, right? Like we have to understand ourselves. And another thing that I'm hearing is so many times in our lives, we put labels on things. And those labels usually are this is good and this is bad and this might be okay. Take off the labels. Sometimes it just is. It
yeah.
just is.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a label of good or bad or,
Yeah.
and I've learned, I was saying to you before we hit record, I have been doing a podcast since 2019. And the reason why I will never let it go, is because I'm so fascinated by what people say
Hmm.
and the things that I learned to realize. Number one, we're all very similar.
Hmm.
Like I don't care what our backgrounds might be different, our journeys might be different, we might have our cultures might be different, all of that. But when you really sit down like this and you have a conversation with another human, you really get to realize, I've been where he's been. I've
Yeah.
been where she's been.
Yeah.
I can relate to that at some point in my life. And we really are all very similar.
Yeah.
It's just maybe you're at one point and I'm at another point, and later I'm going to catch up to you, or you're going to pass me, or we're all on the same path. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because that's why I like to have these different perspectives, because people that are listening, they're going to connect maybe with you, maybe with the next person, maybe with the other person, maybe with me, and all of that is good. That's
Yeah.
the whole point. So, Jacob, what I want to know is, how are you taking these lessons that you're learning here? How does that apply to your business? I want to know how that ties into the mortgage business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I said relationships, I mean business partners and mentors. So realtor partners, builders, title companies, just all of the things that we're talking about, you just learn. I'm going to pause and go back, because I have a friend down the hall actually that's a broker, and we were just having this conversation.
Yeah.
And he's having some similar frustrations, discouragement about relationships, not being what they thought they were. And he's a good encouragement to me. So he's one of my inner circle. But I told him, I was like, just be you. You don't want to attract the people that you don't want to do business with. And so if your business model is X, you don't want to be a Y personality and attract Y people and be miserable. So I think you just have to be, and I'll say this, my music career taught me that too. Just be yourself, because that's the most genuine part of you, is the music that you express is you. And as a teacher, the music you get from your students is same. If you're going to be vulnerable, they're going to be vulnerable back, and they're going to have the confidence to show you part of themselves too. And that's the same thing with business. I think if you allow yourself to be transparent, understanding that you run the risk of getting hurt, or you just got to pick yourself up and get going on and discern that situation and set those boundaries. But always be, you know, I think it's important to be genuine and transparent,
Well,
regardless.
that lesson, and of course, I agree with you 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the toughest lessons you have to learn when you're early in your
Mhm.
career, right? Like, obviously, I can look at my point in my career now and I'm like, I told you this. I do business with people that fit me. Like meaning you have to have the integrity and you have to, that trust factor and we can be honest with each other and know we've got each other's back, right? We're in this together, right?
Right.
Like those are the people I want to do business with, right? But I got to be honest, when I was starting out, I probably would be like, I know they're a little rough. I know that they're a hothead that might yell at my staff. But you know what? It's okay. I'll take care of them. I'll calm them down. I really shouldn't have done that, right? Like I
Yeah.
shouldn't have done that. But when you're growing a business, when you're
Yeah.
trying to, I have to have that
Yeah.
realtor partner. I have to have that whatever. Bill, change the title. It doesn't matter, right? And it's a tough lesson when you are looking for that business or when you're newer to the industry and now I agree with you, over time, you kind of get that confidence, right? And you're like, nope, I don't do business with people that treat my
Right.
staff that way. Absolutely not. But what's your advice? What's your comment back to those people that maybe are a little newer to the industry
Right.
that think they gotta take that attitude or that constant belittling, that they're getting
Yeah.
from this referral partner? What's
Right.
your advice?
Well, I mean, when you're hungry, you're hungry. When you need deals, you get them from wherever you count. But I think you should also just be aware of, as you're getting deals, is this somebody I want to be long-term relationship with? Because some of my earlier partners are not necessarily partners anymore, and that's okay because our business models don't line up. The way we treat our clients is completely different, and that can be confusing, I think, to buyers. Um, but with the understanding of like, okay, this is going to be a short-term partner. I need the money, and I understand this. This is part. I'm going to do the best I can. I can only control my relationship with client. That's true with any partner, right? But when you don't have control over, getting enough business to have those relationships that are people that are just like-minded like you, they treat their clients the same way. They want to have the same business model. This is what I'm about. I hope you're about the same thing, or at least enough common ground to where we don't, you know, cancel each other's efforts out, I guess. Um, and I think I mean, there's some partners that when I get a text or call, I'm like, I know what they want and I have boundaries in place to where I'm like, okay, this person's going to be transactional. I know what to expect. The expectation, right? I already know what to expect. So maybe it'll be more pleasant, but this is all I expect. So, so
Great advice.
yeah.
Great advice. All right. So, Jacob, this has been very deep. Thank you for all of this. I hope everybody took notes. We'd like to end our podcast with I'm a big believer in when you speak something, it comes into existence of planting the seed. So, I like to end our podcast on a note of if I had that magic wand that literally could make it you are completely unlimited with no limitation to anything that you would like to provide in the world. It could be something business, something personal.
Yeah.
What would that thing be if you had no limitation at all?
It'd be a two-part, but it's all related to the Lubbock community.
Okay.
So the first part is, I as a band director, I taught in very low socioeconomic areas, and I know that there's a vacuum of financial education available in the education system, period. And so I would love to get involved with helping financial education across the city, specifically in lower socioeconomic and maybe even helping some Section 8 renters become homeowners eventually. That's part one. Part two is in 1970 there was this tornado that came through Lubbock, and it just devastated the east side and parts of the north side of Lubbock. Some of those have never been
Wow.
revitalized. And so there's a lot of parts that just look so dilapidated, and I'd really like to find a way to help,
Oh,
renovate some of those houses, give back to the community that way, make them more livable, or just, build from the ground up, whatever. But to kind of revitalize that part of town or those parts of town.
wow. I love that. And that's so specific. So we put that out. The
Yep.
seed has been planted. I'm sure that will come to life at some point.
I hope so.
Jacob, brilliant conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and all that you are doing. And if to have people learn more about you and get to know you a little bit, how can they reach out and find you?
www.jacobfoske.com. I'm in the middle of a website change, but that will be still usable. So
Love it. Well, thank you so much and wishing you all the best always.
Thank you so much.